Okay, now if you go to the main menu, the title screen of Super Castlevania IV, you'll see New Game, you'll see Continue, and there'll be Sound Test. You go to Continue, you'll be able to enter codes that you receive from when you lose all your lives. You get codes and you can enter them, and then you'll skip to that point later on in the game because there's no save feature in this game. There's no save files or memory in it. So, what you gotta do is, when you first start Castlevania IV, it asks you to input your name. The name you chose for your file or character actually impacts the password. So, thanks a lot to GameFAQs.com. I have the password for this. Now, I've made it to this level before on my own, of course, and actually at one point when I was a kid, actually a couple points, I have written down the password. Although the password's in sort of a weird function. It's not in numbers, it's in symbols. Now, I'm going to show the password for this, which you enter using either blank space, axe, fire bombs, which is more like holy water, really, and then the heart. So, to select an icon, you push either L or R, I believe, on the controller. So, just follow this pattern and you'll input it, and then you'll make it directly to the Dracula stage. It actually took me a couple tries to get it right. It's a little confusing. Now, the password for the final stage is blank name, of course, and then 3 blank spaces, 1 firebomb, and then the next row is 2 firebombs, 2 blank spaces. Then after that, it's 1 blank space, 1 firebomb, and then the rest is blank. And the bottom row is blank, heart, axe, blank. Now, once you do that, you push start. It'll automatically take you to the start of the level. Now, since you used a cheat, you will have all 4 of your player lives, as well as the opportunity to continue directly from the same spot if you lose all your lives. Now, it also resets the time, so you have full time, and you also only start out with 5 hearts. You also start out with a 0 score, which if you're aiming for a high score, you're not going to want to beat the game with a cheat, but this is mainly for practice here. You do start out with full health, of course, but you don't start out with any item in your inventory. And you also do not start out with the full whip. See, when you first start out, Simon Belmont has like a leather whip, a regular whip, and then pretty quickly he'll pick up a chain whip, and then after that it'll upgrade to a long chain whip, which is the most powerful and has the most range. Once you start out this stage, there's actually a secret that you can do to get full power-ups with the best items and gear. Now what you do is you just walk over the edge and jump as far as you can. You'll land on a platform, then you jump again. You stand in the corner, and automatically the screen will flash. You'll get a whole bunch of hearts all the way up past 99 if you grab them all, which is the most you can carry. Then as you wait, you'll get all the whip upgrades. And then if you wait a little more, you'll get the cross, which is more like a throwing boomerang weapon. You'll get the 2 and the 3 Roman numeral symbols, which I mentioned before, allow you to throw 3 items at once. Now, then you'll jump back up very carefully, because I've fallen a few times, through those invisible platforms. The first one you go up invisible stairs, and then the second one you jump about 1 or 2 steps after you get off the stairs, then you jump. And then you'll make it back up. You go up this staircase, and there'll be a whole hallway filled with more sort of candles that you can break to usually get items from. I'd suggest skipping all those, because if you pick up another item, you will lose the Roman numeral thing, and then you also lose the item that you had. I don't know if there's another weapon in there, but I think there might be another weapon. But even if you pick up the same weapon, it'll delete those Roman numerals. So there's really no need to pick up any more power-ups at this point. Even if you're a good player at Castlevania, even if you're great at the game, this will help you get some strategy for beating the boss. And then after you get good at this part, then you might want to tackle it on your own without using the invisible area cheat. So let's move on to the actual fight with Dracula, and I'll give you some tips directly on how to beat him. Now, one of the reasons that I made this video that you're watching now is because I was working on a project, but as I was recording footage for that, I realized that I learned a lot about the game, even though I've had it for like 20 years. I learned a lot more about the game when I was playing it that same night, because I played it for about 2 hours that night, a couple days ago. I learned quite a lot about the game that I didn't really realize that there was this much strategy in it, so I felt the need to share that on YouTube. Yeah, you can moonwalk up the stairs, guys. It's pretty cool. Yeah, there was one part where I was doing the moonwalk up the stairs and everything was fine, and then suddenly, I guess I turned around at the wrong time, and right at the part where the stairway meets the flat part that it reaches to the top, there's no gap there, and it's never happened again, but I fell through the stairs. I didn't jump, I didn't push any buttons, but I fell through, so there's a little bit of BS there sometimes in this game, and that was just some rare occurrence that happened. I don't know why that happened, but it was a little weird, and I tried replicating again, I couldn't do it again. Yeah, you gotta be really careful on those invisible stairs and that invisible platform. You make it to the room where you fight Dracula, where there's a coffin in the background, there's electricity going everywhere. You wait about 10 seconds on your timer. When it gets to about 3:15, then Dracula comes out. Now what Dracula does throughout the entire fight, the entire fight, is he does this teleport thing. Right before he teleports into the part where you can actually hit him, there'll be a pinkish purple light. And if you stand on Dracula, or if you're standing where Dracula spawns, he will actually do damage to you, and sometimes the damage is a little bit more than if he does his early attacks, so you really got to watch out for that, because a lot of times I noticed that he actually spawned where I was standing, so you got to keep moving back and forth in this fight, or else he'll spawn exactly where you're at, and that'll do some damage to you. You want to throw your boomerangs as much as you can. I used them quite a bit in this fight, and I never even ran out of boomerangs in the whole fight, because you had 99. The whole fight, you can throw pretty much as many as you possibly can. As many times as I played this boss, I never ran out. So what you want to do is throw them kind of up high, so that way they'll hit him in the head. Or they'll hit Dracula in the head. So what you're aiming for most of the time is Dracula's face. You can also hit him on his cape when it's open. Now the fight is divided into segments based on the health of Dracula, and his health is of course located below your player's health, so the enemy is always the boss health in this game, and that's the same for all the other bosses. Now when you start out, Dracula's teleporting, of course. His only attack at that point is to open his cape and shoot out a purple fireball. Now that purple fireball is pretty dangerous because you can hit it and it'll split into 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 4 other fireballs. If you jump over it, it'll also break underneath you, and it'll split out into 3 fireballs, 1 going up, 2 going diagonally, so you're pretty sure to get hit that way. So what you want to do is you can actually break the fireballs with your whip. Most of the time, if you go fast enough, you won't have to really, focus on that, but it actually does go by pretty quickly. Because what you want to focus on at that point, don't really focus on hitting the fireballs. It's not really worth it, So it's kind of like a waste of time. So what you want to do is just keep hitting Dracula in the head with the 3 crosses at one time. If you can, kind of hit him in the face diagonally when you go really close to him with your whip, or you can jump and hit him with your whip in the face. Now once he gets down to about 3 bars lost on his health, he'll start doing an attack where he sends out a fireball that's more like a laser, kind of like balls around the screen, and sometimes it'll fly off the screen and you won't get a chance. Other times it'll come near you. If it comes near you, you try to hit that as much as you can with the whip. This is probably the most important thing to do in the fight, because once you hit it, it'll stop in that place. Now the fireball or laser will shoot other lasers around it in a circle, kind of a slow-paced circle around, like a clock. So what you do is you hit that a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times with your whip, and out will come a meat every time. You get a small meat, so that's why it's the most important thing to focus on in the fight. Now it's also important to know that if you hit him down to 4, I think about 4 hits off his damage bar, off his health bar, he will not do that part with the laser that gives you the meat. In addition, that makes it really hard, but in addition, If you kind of wait and you don't hit him very much, he'll keep doing that ball where the meat drops. So you can get another chance at getting that meat. Okay, now the hardest part for me is the next phase that he goes through. After you do that part with the ball that drops the meat, he'll go to a part where he will throw fireballs with scary faces on them. Almost every time, he'll do 2 fireballs that come out, and these are like big fires that act differently than the lasers. Okay, so the fire, it'll show a pillar of flame on the ground when both of them spawn. Usually, depending on where you're standing, they'll spawn on both sides of you. You gotta watch out for the fire on the ground just as much as the fire that's floating around, because when they spawn, they start to float around and follow you, depending on where you're going. They don't go away until you actually hit them with your whip or a cross. Now, I found 2 strategies for this. One strategy is to walk really slow, like don't walk at full pace, and let them kind of slowly fall down until they're just about to touch your head. And then you kind of go off to the side, and you can whip them. If you get lucky, you can whip them twice. Or if you get lucky, you can hit 2 of them with 1 whip stroke. That's a good method too, but then later on I found a better method. If you jump at the right time, right when they're a little bit after they're spawning, and they're just about to appear, and you throw your crosses in different directions, like a couple in one direction and the last cross in another, kind of like I'm doing right now, you can actually have those crosses hit the fire guys if you're lucky. So that'll take care of the fire guys, and then what you want to do is when Dracula spawns, get as close to him as you can, but not too close that it'll actually touch you, because that will do damage once again. You'll do a diagonal forward attack with your whip, and that'll do the most damage fastest. Because what you really want to do when these fire guys are tough, and they get really annoying really fast. So what you want to do is hit Dracula in the face as much as you can, as fast as you can, because then it'll bring it to the next segment. The next segment after the 2 flame guys is once again the laser ball that drops the meat, which is a very good thing to have at this point. Now, most of the time at this part it'll only appear once, but if you get really lucky, like I did when I actually beat Dracula, it appeared twice. So I got the meat twice, I had almost full health, which is amazing, because I had a hard time fighting this boss. So I had all my health except for 1 little box. So after you do that part's actually really important to stock up on, even more so than the first part, where the lasers drop the meat. So you really want to try to get meat there, if your health is low, which it probably will be after the fire guys. Okay, after that, you'll see another transition in the stage where more electricity comes. It's a little bit brighter this time, and the music will switch over to the theme of Simon Belmont from the first stage, which is really cool, actually. Now, this part is the last segment of Dracula. What's going to happen is he's going to appear like he has been the whole fight, teleporting back and forth around the stage, but in addition, there'll be 4 pillars of electricity coming down, and these won't actually stay in the same place every time. Your only way to dodge them is to stand still in between them, but they'll appear at different places every time. So you kind of got to predict, and you actually kind of got to predict where they are. It's a little tough to figure out, but once you play it a few times, you kind of get a feel for it. It's a little hard to explain even now. It's a little hard to dodge, but there's not really any real way to dodge it that much because it comes out so randomly. So you kind of get a little bit lucky there. Okay, so now we're at the final segment of fighting Dracula, the final boss in the game, and it feels really good to make it to that point. I know when I was playing, I got a little too excited, a little too early, the first few times I made it to this part. So you might make it this far without actually being able to complete it. I got a little too excited and a little jumpy, literally, by pushing the B button a little too often. At this point in the fight, it's really important not to get too jumpy and jump around. So you kind of want to stay off the B button. It's easier to dodge them if you're just walking back and forth. Now, a few times you might get hit. I think I got hit maybe once, but I got a little lucky like I mentioned earlier. I got lucky a few times in this fight. Even though it seems like it's a different part of the fight, your tactics in fighting Dracula remain the same. Just keep in mind that those electricity beams will come down fairly quickly back and forth throughout this part of the stage. So If you have as much health as me, you should be fine if you're doing your same attack pattern on Dracula. Just remember to throw a few crosses in the air when the electricity's not showing up. But just keep hitting him diagonally in his face when you're right next to him, and you should be able to beat Dracula pretty simply by following that strategy. Now, of course, all the stress of fighting Dracula and trying to figure out the strategy pays off when you finally beat him, because there's this ending cutscene where you can actually still walk around. So what I did was use that time to whip him a few more times and whip him the entire fight, which is kind of crazy, but I was really like, I didn't expect to win this fight because I died on it a few times, but I had so much health, and by that time I kind of mastered the strategy against Dracula that I was so happy to beat him. I just kept hitting him. And then he fades away in the sunlight because the window cracks and he burns up because of course Dracula's, he's weak against sunlight, it'll burn him. And I just kept whipping him there. You don't actually have to whip those bats, but I just did it anyways because I was so pissed at Dracula. So then you see the final sort of ending cutscene of Dracula's castle falling apart while you're safely away outside on the hilltop. And that's the end of the game. You see the credits, which are actually pretty long. I think they're about 2 or 3 minutes long. And they're pretty cool credits, but I'll let you enjoy that for yourself if you haven't beat it quite yet. If you have beat it and you're returning to this game, which is what I'm recommending, then this should be a pretty good video for you in order to sort of remember that strategy, exactly what you need to do to fight Dracula and beat him. Because this did not happen to me on my first try. Believe me, it took me quite a long time to find the perfect strategy for each part of the Dracula fight, and even though it sounds simple, it took quite a while, and now I feel like I'm pretty confident in playing this game all the way through. But wait, there's more. Once you beat Dracula, and once you finish the credits, you can push start once again, and what do you know? It starts you back at the start of the game. And I believe this is hard mode. I haven't beaten the whole game on hard mode. I think I beat like the first 2 stages, and then I kind of got tired because I just fought Dracula and it was really intense, but I love this game so much I could probably play this any day of the week and still have fun with it. I haven't really played hard mode very much, but it is hard mode. I don't really know what all the differences are in hard mode. I think mainly the bosses will take more hits to kill, and mainly some of the enemies might take a few more hits, like even things like skeletons, which are pretty common in this game. They might take a few more hits to kill. That's the only thing I've noticed so far on hard mode. I don't know if the items are different, but I didn't think they were. Anyways, that's enough about that. If you have any questions for more tips or hints about any part of this game, I can pretty much provide that for you. I just wanted to focus on Dracula because he's the boss, and it's the hardest part of the game for me. And for most people, I think. Some of the platforming is a little tough at some points. But it's mainly the bosses that are challenging in this game. There's a couple other bosses right before Dracula that are a little challenging compared to the first main stages. But yeah, they're pretty cool too. Because most of this game isn't that tough, to me at least. I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't seem that tough to me, mainly because I played it a whole bunch. But on a normal sitting, like if I sit down and play this game, I can usually make it all the way to like halfway through Dracula's castle, which is actually, the first half of the game is actually like leading up to his castle, and then you make it to the castle and there's a whole new map. So you'll be going through his castle at that point. So I can make it like about 75% of the game within an hour or two of just playing through the levels. Because I just play it so much. I think it's a little bit easier. Yeah, it's easier than the original Castlevania, and I think it's easier than Castlevania 3, which I have the hardest time with of the first 4. Castlevania 2 is a little different than these games, so I'd actually classify that one as maybe about as easy or easier than this. Just a little bit, because it's not so much about platforming and enemies as it is more like an RPG. A little bit, not entirely, not like Symphony of the Night and those other Metroidvanias that came out later, but it's a little bit. So now I'm rambling too much about my favorite game, but as I mentioned before, if you have any questions, even advice for me, or any other comments, leave them in the comment section below. Subscribe to Happy Beard Games today to follow me for more classic and retro gaming goodness, as well as more on Castlevania IV, because I'm doing a video on Super Castlevania IV really soon, and I might show a preview of that on this video. There's not too much to preview because I kind of already showed a lot of it on here, but the video will be completely different than this. It won't be a Let's Play. It won't be anything that I've really done before. It'll be a combination of new and old things, so it will have elements of a Let's Play, but it won't be like an actual Let's Play. So that's what I used to do on my old channel, was mainly Let's Play, so that's why I'm comparing it to that specifically. But anyways, thank you for watching. I want to give an extra special shout out and thank you to the 11 people that are currently subscribed to me. That is 3 more than the last video, which is pretty cool. And the people that subscribed or followed me, I guess it's called, on Twitter page, which is my new Twitter page that I just created a couple days ago. As well as the 6 people that are following me on Google+. You guys are all awesome, and I hope you continue to enjoy my videos and content that I create on YouTube. So until next time, Happy Beard Games, we'll see you then, and Happy Beard Games out! Thanks for watching. Happy Beard Games.
You want to subscribe, you want to subscribe, you want to subscribe, you want to mind control really works, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. You want to subscribe, you want to subscribe, you want to mind control.
Thanks for watching.